Our next segment will be a first in the history of the Peter Wilson Dinner. We're going to have our first live auction. 1 week at a dream vacation getaway in Barbados. This amazing package is valued at $10,000 to $12,000, depending on whose currency you're using. It was generously and spontaneously donated by our speaker, Tim Moore. Yes. Okay. His donation of this is an event that I will remember for a long time. Tim donated it during the first 15 minutes of the first meeting that Michelle and I had with him. When Tim learned that this was our premier fundraiser and we had a silent auction, he perked up and said, I can donate something for an auction. And he donated this dream vacation getaway at the Moore property in Barbados. Just like that. It was that simple. Michelle and I looked at each other in disbelief and said, thank you. We can't wait to see who takes this home this evening. And here's a video to tell you about what we're auctioning.
Look out here on the sea. I say there's no more beautiful place on the planet than being right here.
Out of all the Caribbean islands, Barbados is the furthest east. We're on the southeast coast. It's the rugged Atlantic coast. It's breathtaking. The turquoise colors of the ocean. It's just like it's painted. It's like a picture.
Craigmere Villas hold about 8 people. They got 4 bedrooms. They're all travertine and marble and granite and cedar shake. They're very high end. And then there's common areas where everybody meets.
My husband proposed to me at Craigmere, out on the point, and I'll always remember that moment as the breeze was coming by us, and he got down on one knee. Just truly heaven on earth.
The outdoor area is exquisite. You want to spend all your time out there.
It has a hot tub, wonderful pools, infinity edges, with private areas where you can sit out and be completely remote from everybody else. It's just outstanding.
While you do have your own privacy, your own villa, etc., you can walk out the front door and within 10-minute walk, you're right next door at the Crane.
The Crane Resort is right next door. And once you get through those gates, there's a variety of amenities. We have a general store, 5 different restaurants.
So even though you have got your own privacy here, you're within minutes of anything if you need it. In addition to managing the property, we also offer full concierge services. So if you want to go sailing for a day, we have great surfing here. If you want to travel around the island, go on an island safari tour, restaurant reservations, we do that for you as well. And we can set that all up before you come, so you don't have to worry when you get here. Everything's done and everything's taken care of.
You can take a look at our TripAdvisor reports. So one of the last times I saw it, we had 15 5-star ratings in a row. There's a reason for that. It's going to surprise people. You have to have a wow factor. So it becomes a special place for all those people who come, and I love that.
Once you see it, you'll know.
We'll see. All right. Okay. Thanks again to the Moore family for this very generous donation. We deeply appreciate your support of this year's dinner. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Gord McComb from Auction City to the stage to begin the live auction. Gord.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, if this screws up, I'm George McComb. And if it's really good, I'm Gordy McComb, just like you call me here, okay? So, you told them all about it. I'm ready to go, right? I sold this several times, and just that spotlight up there. Can you turn that off? There we go. Thank you. I have to be able to see you. To help me see tonight, I got Josh, I got Mark, Ryan. Where's Peter? Peter, all right. And when you bid on this item, just wave your white serviette there so we can see, because it's still a little bit dark in here. It's a big honor, a great honor for me tonight, Tim, that requested me as an auctioneer, and to be here tonight. Congratulations to you and what you've done. And the best thing about what he's done it with his family. And that's what this is all about tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start the bidding right now. Who say $10,000? Start the bidding quick. Who say 10 out of bid 10? Who say 5? Half price right now. Quick. I got 5. I got 6. I got 7. I got 8. 8,000, 10,000. Who say 10? 10. We're going to go 9. How many? 9, 9, 9. I'm going to 9,000. How many $8,000? I'm going to 9, 9, 9. I'm going to give 9, 9. Who say 9,000? Who will? I got 9. Now 10. I'm in 9,000, 10. I'm in 9 out of bid 10, 10, 10 out of bid 10. By the way, folks, you see all these valuations, and Tim straightened me out in the start of this. They're U.S. prices plus tax, okay? So this value is worth a lot more than $10,000, okay? I've been $9,000 only. Who say $10,000 quick? I've been 9. I got 10. That spotlight, you have to excuse me. You ever look into a bright light and then you can't see? And I should know better, but I've done that. So I need Josh. I got what, 10,000 down, 9,000 down there, 10,000. You said 10 down at the end. Am I correct? Yes. Hold up your hand if you did. Yep. 10, Josh. Now 11. 10,000, 10,500. Out of it 10, I'm going to get 10,500. Out of it $10,000 would say 10,500. I'm going to get 10, 10, but I'm 5,500. I'm going to get 10,005. Now 11,000. Out of it 10,500, give 11. Out of it 10,500, but I'm 11,000. All down at 10,500, give 11. I'm at 10,500, but I'm 11, give 11, 11. All down at 10,500, 11,000. Who'd say 10,750? Don't lose it for $250. 10,750. I'd have been 10,500, 750. Are you all through at $10,500? Somebody wants to say $10,750. Yes? You're out. Last call. Sold $10,500. God bless you all. Thank you very much. And thank you, Tim.
Well, congratulations. All right. Congratulations. That was about the most exciting and nerve-wracking 5 minutes that I've had in a long time. We're going to let the table settle down over there. I think it may have been a birthday present. I'm not sure. Okay, back to earth. Ladies and gentlemen, the silent auction is now closed. Thank you all for your generous bids. All right, that really got everyone going. All right, back here, focus, focus. Thank you. All right, thank you again to the Moore family for this kind donation. The winners of the silent auction and the winner of our live auction will be displayed on the side screens at the end of the evening. All right. Okay, at this time, I would like to introduce Ali Masodi from TD Bank Group, who will be introducing our speakers. Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, could I please have your attention at the front of the room? Thank you. All right, I was beginning to feel ignored up here. This is not right, okay? All right, it's my pleasure at this time to introduce Ali Masodi. Ali Masodi, thank you. All right. From TD Bank Group, who will be introducing our guest speakers. Ali is currently the Regional VP of TD Commercial Banking for Atlantic Canada. His story is very interesting, and it didn't start here. Ali's family was forced to flee the revolution in Iran in 1976. They initially moved to France and then lived in London and Montreal before Ali came to New Brunswick to go to Mount Allison University for his undergraduate degree. This is when he became an honorary East Coaster, and he met his wife, Jody, who is from Moncton. Ali obtained an MBA from U of M. He is fluent in 3 languages, English, French, and Farsi. He is an outdoor sport enthusiast and spends most of his free time working with community and economic development boards. Ali has a strong passion for the work that he does and believes that firmly that his is a relationship-based business. Having lived in various cultural settings, he brings a unique perspective to his work. Ali has more than 20 years experience in banking, with 17 years in commercial banking. After several years of both commercial business and personal banking experience, he joined the TD as a branch manager in New Brunswick and ran the 2nd largest branch in New Brunswick. His career eventually progressed to his first titled appointment at the bank in 2015, when he was mandated to lead the commercial business in Montreal East. Ali then moved back to Moncton. He led the business in New Brunswick and PEI before his latest appointment last June here in Halifax. Ali Masodi is known for his ability to establish great business relationships, work collaboratively, inspire teams, and get great results. He is a visionary and strategic leader who has a constant focus on developing his people. It is my pleasure to welcome Ali Masodi to the Peter Wilson Dinner stage.
Wow, I sound a lot more interesting than I really am. I don't know who wrote that, Paul. I have no idea. It's partly true anyway. Thank you so much for the introduction. I very much appreciate it. Your worship, elected officials, builders, friends, connectors, families, I'm delighted to be here this evening on behalf of TD in support of the annual Peter Wilson Dinner, Family Business Association's keynote event in Atlantic Canada. For over 30 years, the Family Business Association has been helping multi-generational family businesses succeed by bringing them together to support one another and share best practices to meet the unique challenges and dynamics of owning and operating a family business in an ever more complex world. Similarly, TD's purpose is to enrich lives of our customers, communities, and colleagues. Our social corporate responsibility agenda is driven by a central belief that together we can build inclusive futures where everyone has the opportunity to succeed in a changing world. Thus, we are proud to invest in the communities where we do business, work, and play. To this end, under our READY commitment, TD is investing $1 billion by 2030 in 4 areas that support change, nurture progress, and contribute to making the world a better and more inclusive place. And we have certainly seen both the investment and the job creation here in Atlantic Canada this year. I'm also proud tonight to announce that the J.D. Power just revealed that TD Bank won the #1 spot of the Big 5 banks in customer satisfaction. So a big thank you to all of our valued clients without whom we would not exist. I'm actually really proud of that award because as I was talking to Mrs. Dodds earlier tonight, I said, you know, I don't get the contemporary lines on this modern chair of ours because I'm a bit of a traditionalist and I preferred the old green chair, but I'm growing accustomed to it, so thanks for your support regardless. Speaking of investments in Canada, job creation, and progress, tonight I have the distinct privilege of introducing our keynote speaker, Mr. Tim Moore. Don't be shy, folks. Somebody got a great deal on that package too, by the way. I was just in Barbados a couple of years ago. It is magnificent. Tim is the founder of several organizations in Canada, including AMJ Campbell Van Lines, Premier Executive Suites, Premier Van Lines, Premier Self-Storage, Premier Mortgage Center, Oceanstone Resorts, and his latest venture, More Executive Suites. He co-founded Atlantic Signature Mortgage and Loans with his son Chris, which was recently sold to the credit union Atlantic. In each of these endeavors, he personally recruited talented individuals and encouraged them to embrace entrepreneurship. As a young junior high school teacher in 1970, Tim discovered that he had the ability to engage and mentor people which would lay the foundation for a lifetime of success, building major businesses and nurturing hundreds of entrepreneurs. By the late 1980s, the business elite took notice of Tim's abilities. He was featured in a book, The New Entrepreneurs, 80 Canadian Success Stories. This was followed by nearly 20 years of media attention, including radio and television interviews and numerous magazine and newspaper articles, including two major feature profiles in Profit magazine. As the author of two well-received books, On the Move and You Don't Need an MBA to Make Millions, and I hope that doesn't preclude me, Tim shared the story of his journey and a practical guide to becoming a successful entrepreneur. A former member of the St. Mary's University Board of Governors, Tim has been praised for his many accomplishments and was awarded an honorary doctorate in business from SMU and generously supports the university today. His accomplishments were recognized through several awards: the Queen's Golden Jubilee Medal, the Distinguished Service Award from the Canadian Movers Association, and the Certificate of Merit Entrepreneur category by the Canada Awards for Business Excellence. He has the distinction of being an incredible 5-time as one of the top 50 CEOs for Atlantic Canada, thereby qualifying for the Hall of Fame and for subsequent tribute as Master Entrepreneur of the Year, Atlantic Region. Tim continues to mentor and support several charitable activities, including Junior Achievement of Canada, Best Buddies of Canada, Canadian Olympic Association, the Alzheimer Association of Nova Scotia, and the Mental Health Association of Nova Scotia. We're honored to have Tim with us tonight. He'll also be inviting some of his family to join him on stage to share their unique perspectives on experiences of working within the family business. So how cool is it, within the theme of family business and intergenerational business, that Tim will have with him tonight Chris, Lizzie, and Matthew on stage to discuss some of their shared experiences throughout this growth journey. Fabulous growth journey, I should add. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a roaring welcome for Mr. Tim Moore.
Oh, you did a good job there.
Thanks, man.
You're definitely hired. Thank you, Ali. I want to make sure this mic is working. I might make sure all my notes, one of the speakers put all my notes down below. I thought for sure they're going to get messed up, and we had a few other speakers, but they're all here. Actually, after that introduction, I'm actually starting to feel important. Ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Savage, the Honorable Myra Freeman. I was going to say something about Lenny Gallant, but unfortunately he got the flu about 5:30 this afternoon. He's on his back. Distinguished guests, my family, and my dear friends that are here tonight, some who have traveled from as far away as Alberta, I want to sincerely thank you for attending tonight. And thank you for supporting Family Business Atlantic. I must say, I really have had the distinct pleasure the last 2 months of working with two of the women that essentially run the organization, and that's Dr. Margaret Humphreys and Michelle Levine. They've been so professional, so communicative, and you know what? They've been a lot of fun, so that makes it a lot easier. It made it a lot easier for myself. So I just want to, again, acknowledge them. I don't know where Michelle is. I think she's at the back. But I can, again, have them stand up. The last time I was on stage here, this kind of reminds me of about 6 years ago, and I was at the podium, and myself and the two Macon brothers from Stuart McKelvey were asked to roast a senior banker. And that night, speaking in front of 500 people, it's a little stressful. But just before I get up to speak, I was walking down in some of the tables, and I saw a chap from McGinnis Cooper who used to be a friend of mine, a chap named Bob Bellevaux. And anyway, he said, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I'm a little bit nervous." He says, "Oh, you'll be fine." He says, "People have such low expectations of what you're going to say, you'll be fine." So you certainly know who your friends are. Now, Bob's not a bad guy, actually. So tonight, I thought I would be involved in a number of businesses. I thought I'd focus on one particular business, the one that was in for the first 30 years of my career. And then that's the moving industry. And then I want to discuss a little bit about my style, because my style permeates in all the businesses. But my style and a certain culture, I think we created. Culture is so critical in any organization. Then I'm going to have you listen to a new generation of people, my two sons and my daughter-in-law. Then talk about 6 key points that assisted me on my successful journey. And then I'm going to end with what I truly feel was the best decision of my life. As I look out in this room, I honestly ask myself, how the hell did I do it? How did I achieve everything I did? Where did the 45 years go? How did a boy from middle-class Montreal achieve what I achieved, founding the largest moving company in Canada, the largest extended stay provider in Canada, a financial services company, the premier group of companies, Oceanstone Resort, Moore Suites? I certainly feel blessed, but I also feel very humble. After all, I'm probably the only person that you'll ever know that failed grade 3. I dropped math at the end of grade 10 at Micah Power High School, and they told me I could not go past grade 12 without my math. I never took math beyond grade 10. I took grade 12 and failed. And the priest at Micah Power High School in Toronto suggested that I should go to work. I didn't have the aptitude to go on to further studies. I repeated grade 12. Then I took grade 13. I failed 13 with a 35 average. They told me the same thing, go out to work. The one thing I learned, though, was that I did not like people telling me what I can and cannot do. I did not like people telling me what I can and cannot do. When I gave the address at the convocation at St. Mary's University, I told this to the students. To me, it was very important. I told the students, don't let anybody tell you what you can and cannot do. You have to decide what you can and cannot do and what you think you can achieve. Because I'm a living example that if you can dream, you can do it. If you have the right attitude, the right work ethic, if you have the desire and the determination, you can achieve anything in life that you put your mind to. There was a chap in my class 45 years ago by the name of John Hunkin. Now, John Hunkin did not do as badly as I did academically, but I can tell you he didn't do well. John Hunkin became the president of CIBC. And we're still friends. He has a place in Chester. But he said to me, must have been 5, 6 years ago. Tim, do you remember back in Micah Park High School? I said, yes. He said, I bet you they'd take a poll on the 3 guys least likely to succeed. It'd be you, me, and this other chap, Bob Lippick, who became a millionaire in the mining industry up in Sudbury. So you never know. Now this evening, this is all about family business. And we are a family business, perhaps a little different, perhaps a little less traditional in the sense that we have built businesses and we've sold businesses. And we've sold many of our core businesses. But in all cases, there is a family connection. So having founded the largest moving company in Canada and focusing on this, I thought I would expound on how everything happened, how it came into fruition, and how I developed it. But as I reflect back, there were no magic formulas. There was no preconceived ideas, no futuristic goals in respect to entrepreneurship. Because after all, in high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to become a school teacher. This thing is supposed to come on. Oh, there you go. Okay, there you go. Anyway, so after my high school, I ended up going in the seminary where I studied for the priesthood for 3 years, and that had a grounding effect for me. And I was there for 3 years, and then I left. And when I left, I went up to Sudbury, Ontario, where I got a job teaching school. And I must say, I had 2 of the most rewarding years of my career teaching school. The money was terrible, though. So I decided to go back to do graduate studies, not graduate studies, but go back to university, get my degree, move up a couple of categories so I could make more money in the teaching profession. So I went to Waterloo, I graduated with an honor degree. Then I went to McGill to do graduate studies. Halfway through the year at McGill, believe me, I was broke. I had no money. I traded my car in for a pickup truck, and hopefully you'll see it there. Now, a pickup truck's not a very big truck, but I can tell you, I did a lot of large moves on that pickup, believe it or not. So, and then what I did, I advertised in the McGill Daily and a few other local newspapers. The interesting thing is I made more money in 2 days as a truck driver, 1 week as a truck driver than I did 2 days, sorry about that. I made more money in 2 days working on the trucks than I did a week in teaching. So I thought I'd share with you, only because it's so vivid today, a few of my moving stories, and 2 of them in particular were the very first week that I was in the moving business. And a woman of a certain ethnic background called me up, and she said, Tim, how much would it cost to move 7 or 8 boxes from downtown Montreal to Côte-des-Neiges? Now, that's about a 15-minute drive. I said, 7 or 8 boxes, I'll do it in an hour. I was charging $7 an hour, so I'll charge you $7. So there I go with my truck, and I was so proud of that truck, believe it or not. I had it built up 8 feet and put a tarpaulin on top. I go downtown Montreal, and I see the high rises. I go around the back. The chap at the booth, the guy in the booth said, you go underground to the elevators on the left-hand side. So I put it in the first gear, going at a fairly good speed, totally forgetting that I have a truck and not a car. I smash into the top of the cement roof. My bars are hanging off the truck, and my tarpaulin was ripped. So that was my first move, but it's so vivid. Then I went up, introduced myself to the girl. She had a double bed, a couple of dressers, end tables, countless miscellaneous, and it took 2.5 hours to load that truck. On the way to destination, I said, look, I'm going to have to charge you more than $7 because you have a lot more than what you said you had. Well, she turned on me like no females ever turn on me, and she said, you promised me $7, you better stick to that. So it took 5.5 hours to do the move. So I learned, I made a mistake. But the one thing I was going to say a little earlier is that I just come out of the seminary, just come out of the teaching profession, and I was a nice guy then. I'd do anything for anybody. I was very naive. But one thing about getting your own business, you realize it's not always a nice world out there. Not everybody is nice. And you have to learn to survive. Anyway, this woman, 3 months later, she called me back. She said, I'm going to go travel Europe. And I wonder if you can move my furniture to my parents' place. I said, yes, but I'm going to charge you $7 an hour. So I did the move on a Friday. And on the Saturday, I still remember it's around 6 o'clock, and my brother will attest, he was in Montreal at the time. She says, Tim, you forgot to move the broom. I said, I forgot to move the broom. Where was the broom? She said, it was behind the door. Well, I said, you had just as much responsibility to make sure the broom got out of the place as I did. And she said, Tim, if you don't come move my broom, I'm going to report you to the Montreal Star or the Better Business Bureau, and click, she hung up on me. But that was 3 months in. I had a good little business going. It was a cash business. I was still going to school. And I got nervous because I had no license. And I went, and I moved her broom. Now I'm going to go ahead 20 years later. There was we had a function going on at a major hotel in Toronto. We had 250 people, corporate people, coming to our function. How many people here, put your hand up if you know Eddie Shack, the hockey player. Well, Eddie was going to be a guest speaker. And Eddie was on the screen there. I don't know what happened. But anyway, so just prior to Eddie speaking in front of the 250 people, there he is right there, I heard that he was speaking up in Northern Ontario. And there was a priest in the audience and some children. And his language was very inappropriate. And I had to call Eddie, and I said, hey, look, you know, I only asked that we got 250 corporate people. I can't have any inappropriate language. And so he said, no problem, Tim. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. It'll be great. So the big function's happening. I'm telling the broom story. I finished telling the broom story. I introduce Eddie Shack. Eddie comes up, goes to the podium. His first words out of his mouth was exactly being very explicit in terms of where that woman could put her broom. The place fell. I was mortified. So that was Eddie Shack. One more move, a chap called me up in that going back again, and he said, how much would it cost to move 2.5 rooms of furniture from Boston to Montreal? Now, I didn't even know how far Boston was. And so I didn't understand that the van lines all go consolidated weight, several shipments on the same trailer. And I checked around. I called him back. I said, you pay the gas and give me $45. I drive to Boston, 20 hours return in a blistering, blinding snowstorm. Halfway down, the chap turns to me. He says, Tim, I really appreciate you doing this. He says, I did check around. Said the cheapest price I was quoted was $300. Anyway, I made a mistake, but I learned from that mistake. And then, of course, I'd be a little remiss if I didn't tell a couple of stories with people that are here tonight. One thing you have to understand about Quebec, for decades, every lease used to terminate on May 1st. So there were never enough trucks and never enough labor. So I was always asking friends and family to come and help me. And I was one of the only moving companies in Montreal working double shifts. Probably the only one. So I had my brother Terry came to help me out. We loaded one of those trucks, like those small trucks. We loaded it up. He takes it off to Toronto. He's got the customer in the center seat. He's got his future wife at the time on the other seat. He's driving along 401, looks through the rearview mirror, sees a police car with a queen-size mattress on top of the car, 2 police officers holding the mattress. They pulled him over, and they said, we think you lost the mattress. So Terry's apologizing. If they'd ever realized that this was a commercial enterprise, I would have been in trouble. I think they just thought people were doing a personal move. And then one other thing, when I got my 2 brother-in-laws, I was desperate to get labor. My 2 brother-in-laws from Moncton, New Brunswick, I asked them to come to Montreal, and they did. They got on a train. I picked them up in Montreal. So they worked for 6 days, at least 18, 20-hour days. Then when they left, they never wanted to see a piece of furniture or a truck there again the rest of their lives, and they never did. But the one move I remember they helped me out in, I was down loading that truck, and they're bringing the furniture down from whatever floor it was on. We were moving a woman, a very elderly woman, And they came down, they said, and there's only a 4 years difference between us. They said, the woman said, could you ask your father to come up here, please? I was 32 years old. So I thought they were kidding, but they were serious. So I go up and I said, ma'am, you referred to me as being their father. She said, well, you're all tall and you all look alike. I said, ma'am, I'm only 20. And she said, yes, and I'm 40. So I never lived that one down. And just one last little story, I think, because they do things a little differently in Quebec. I'm not sure if they're still doing this. But we all know what happens when we get parking tickets. And, you pay the parking tickets or you go to the court here or whatever. But I was home one night in my apartment in Montreal. Knock on the door. There's 2 police officers. I said, are you Thomas Charles Moore? Now, that's my legal name. Thomas Charles Moore. I said, yes, I am. We have a warrant for your arrest. I said, for what? She said, you got $300 in parking tickets here. I said, well, I got several trucks. And, I'm always trying to keep ahead of paying tickets. But I said, what happens if I don't have the $300 here in the apartment? They said, we'll have to take you down to the precinct. Of course, me trying to be funny, I said, just the 2 of you? They didn't have a sense of humor. They said, we can have 5 officers here in 5 minutes. Fortunately, I had the cash. So that's the end of sort of the local business, but it was 1978. I sold T.C. Moore, and I bought a little company called M.J. Campbell. M.J. Campbell was part of North American Van Lines, which was owned by the PepsiCo Corporation. I don't know if you'll see that truck, but no, it's not coming up. Sorry about that. Oh, there it is, okay. So, so now we can move people worldwide. We could. So this little company was doing $200,000 in sales, had 2 corporate clients, and had 2 offices. And over probably an 18-year period, this is I believe, such a great story about great people. We took it to about 120 million, 125 million. We had 1,000 trucks on the road and 46 offices. We had 3,000 employees. The interesting thing is we were $60 million away from the closest competitor. So it was a great story, and I had brought in my 2 brothers in the business, my brother Terry, who is here tonight. Terry sort of developed the West, founded the West. Every company in the West he developed into a multi-million-dollar company. I brought my mother in the business. Everybody knew my mother and called her mother. She worked in the accounting department. Cousin Neil West, who is still in the business, who works for Premier Van Lines now here in Halifax. And what is interesting is Premier Van Lines now does all the work for my former company, M.J. Campbell Van Lines, for Atlantic Canada. Then I brought in 2 brother-in-laws in the business. But there was always a sort of family culture. And yes, our family, yes, we controlled the business up to a certain year, but we really had a family culture. There was a family feel and a lot of emotion, to the point that we encouraged people to bring their families into the organization, as long as you lay the ground rules down, because it's more sensitive if you bring family in. So we had a family tree. We had 46 different families involved in the organization. And then in terms of our style, we had a very strong value system where everybody in the organization was treated with dignity and respect. There was a sense of spirituality, a lot of emotion, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of people, I appreciate. But at the same time, I know we have a business to run, and we got to be professional and work hard and pay our way and have a good attitude, or you wouldn't survive in our environment. And we always, the interesting thing is, when I say we were all close, we had literally almost virtually no turnover among senior management for 20 years. We had an affinity for affection. Very rarely did I ever go in the office in Toronto. We had 100 people in our head office. Very rarely did I not go in and get hugs, not just from the females, but from the men. And times have changed. I feel a little like Joe Biden, the poor guy, But and then I hear recently, in the last few days, I heard something in England where certain corporations now, they have a no contact rule. In other words, some of them, you can't even shake hands with people. And I say, what is this world coming to? And probably like Joe Biden, I hope, I have no intention of changing my style. The other thing I did that I still do to this day that I highly recommend in every business, every day I walk the floor. And every day in Toronto, we had 100 people there, as I said, I walked the floor. And it wasn't until 1999, until I left, that I received letters from people saying they're going to miss me walking the floor. And I'm glad I appreciate that. But I was there because I was doing that because I want to know what's going on in my company. I would know everything going on by walking the floor and asking the questions. And you detect if there are people having problems or issues. And if they are, you ask them in your office later. You know everything that's going on in your organization. And one of the most underrated positions in every company, in my estimation, is a receptionist. And I believe that every receptionist that's good should make at least $50,000. Critical. I think it's so important. Your receptionist knows everything that's going on in your business. And I knew every receptionist very well. They know how the internal people are reacting to their clients. They know when people are not returning their phone calls. They know when clients have complaints. So that job in particular is very, very vital. It's one of the most important jobs. And there was always in our organization a culture of kidding around. I mean, we used to have tie contests. You probably remember when males used to wear ties, everybody used to wear ties. We used to have crazy, wacky ties and different. I used to have a tie I wore for about 3 weeks, and it had these little sticks on them all over the tie. Somebody came up and said, "Do you know what's on your tie?" I said, "No." "You've got nude women all over your tie." I didn't realize I had it on, that there were nude women. They were. But dressing for success and differentiating yourself was very important. We used to insist that all our senior male managers wear Harry Rosen suits. And if you couldn't afford it, we used to give gift certificates to those that couldn't afford it. It's dressing for success. We had one chap, at our new franchisee in St. Catharines, just came off the trucks. He had a big black beard. He weighed 331 pounds. And he went and got his Harry Rosen suit. And he walked into one of the meetings. I can only tell you, I still never forget that jaws drop. We couldn't believe how good this guy could look. He didn't look that good before. And then we had a mustache club, and 19 out of 20 of our managers had mustaches. And we were big into cowboy boots and suspenders. It's all, in business, differentiation is very important. You don't want to be like everyone else. You don't want people to forget you. And then, of course, women. What can I say about women? We became so successul, and people think I'm partial towards women, and I am, and certainly in a way, because so many studies have come out that say that women are better entrepreneurs than men these days. And that doesn't surprise me, because I remember in 1980, I get in the moving business there with M.J. Campbell, and it was a male-dominated industry. It still is a male-dominated industry. But we had more women in more senior positions than any other moving company in Canada. And I recall there was a woman that was working for a subsidiary of North American Van Lines, which again was owned by the Pepsi Corporation. I met her initially probably in 1978. She was the largest producer in North America. She won every award in North America you can conceive of. And she eventually became a legend in the business. And I befriended her and stole her from the subsidiary company in North American. And the president of North American, Bill Elliott at the time, threatened to cancel us as an agent. But this woman brought over $2 million of business overnight. And to this day, people in the moving business still know her name. Her name is Jackie Stewart, and she's here tonight. Jackie, can you stand up, please? Stand up. The biggest producer in the history of the business. I remember one time, the group of partners, male partners, used to go skiing to Vail and Aspen for 13 years in a row. We got back on a Sunday. We went to get our cars at Bond Hill Road. We used to own the building. There's a huge sign out in front, and it said, "Under new management." We go inside. Above every door is the name of a female. And I think that was Jackie. The females had completely taken over. So, anyway, I'm going to give you a little bit of break, and then I'm going to come back on. I'm going to let you listen to a new generation of people. And so, first of all, I'm going to introduce you to my son, Matthew. What can I say about Matthew? Now, you can come up, Matthew. Now, Matthew, I feel a little sorry for Matthew because he's somewhat burdened because people say he's like me, the poor kid. His mind never stops. He's always going 100 miles an hour. He's had his own business, and he's a partner in several of our businesses. And he's got 3 master's degrees, and he's got a CPA, and he's far smarter than I'll ever be. But Matthew,
in business and in life, my father has always been my biggest inspiration. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. I was always told, work hard, be positive, be humble, and provide great customer service. My dad started his first business in Montreal with nothing but a pickup truck to his name. A quarter of a century later, I bought a pickup truck and did the same. One of the most important things I learned from my dad about entrepreneurship was just to get out there and take action. I also learned the importance of challenging the status quo by being a mover and shaker. For example, my dad was one of the first to require drivers in the moving industry to wear ties, which conveyed a professional image to the customer. In 2001, a good friend of my father's, Larry Pringle, asked me to move some furniture from New York City to Toronto. This was less than a month after 9/11, so large portions of Manhattan were not accessible and covered in dust. My dad told me not to go, but I went anyways. So off I was to a strange city with no concept of where anything was, with all the post-9/11 activity going on. I arrived in New York with my helpers, all of them dressed in full uniform, including ties, and carried out a totally professional move. I drove for almost 24 hours back to Toronto before unloading the goods, and I would say like father, like son, except for one difference. I had a trip permit, so it was legal. Another piece of irony was that one of my first moves was a load of furniture to Boston. When I told my dad about it, he didn't recommend me going since he still had a vivid recollection of his own trip of horrors to Boston so many years ago. After successfully completing the move, I told my dad, the difference between us, I said, was that you got $45 in lost money, and I made $1,500 and had a profit. My dad also taught me the importance of real estate and got me to buy properties at a young age. Real estate has been like a forced savings account and offered great opportunities for appreciation and leverage. Well, my dad and I have a very similar entrepreneurship history. We are also quite different when it comes to views on education. I did my undergraduate degree here at St. Mary's University in Halifax. I loved my time there, so much so that Dr. Colin Dodds saw me several times working at the Atrium Library a few years after I graduated. During my master's studies, my dad wrote a book, You Don't Need an MBA to Make Millions. So after I did my MBA at the Schulich School of Business, we tend to get in debates on the importance of theory learned at university versus experience. My dad would say business is 90% experience versus 10% education. Well, I would say it's more like 50-50. But I finished my CPA recently a few years ago, and my dad asked me why I can't prepare my own financial statements. So I guess that's a good point on the importance of experience. My dad's still after me to take that course in QuickBooks. I think everyone in the family has a good sense of humor. I think having a good sense of humor is important in family business because it provides a good coping strategy to deal with stress. My dad and I tend to agree on a lot of business issues, but when we disagree, I tend to go to my brother or Lizzie for their support. If that doesn't work, then I go to the real boss, my mom. My mom has been the driving force behind all that my dad, me, and my brother have accomplished. My parents are my greatest supporters and love of my life. Words cannot describe my love to you both.
I'll tell you, somebody asked me last week, do you know what your children are going to say? I said, no, I don't, and I really didn't want to know. The only thing I said to the kids is, just be nice to your dad. So for the most part, he was quite nice. Thank you, Matthew. Now I'm going to introduce you to my daughter-in-law, Lizzie. Lizzie's sort of the daughter my wife and I never got. She truly is one of the nicest human beings on the planet. And a lot of you probably know her parents, Dr. Colin Dodds, formerly the president of St. Mary's University, who's very iconic in this city and respected by everybody, and his dear wife, Carol. So how better can it get? I mean, how lucky and blessed can we be to have the Dodds as part of our family? I mean, we are truly blessed. And now Lizzie probably wouldn't have said this to you, but when she left university, she went to Ottawa, and she had always liked being in politics, and she became chief of staff for Peter Van Loan, who was in the Harper government, one of the ministers. And she was the youngest chief of staff in Parliament Hill, and she was also voted best chief of staff in Parliament Hill. So at her young age, an amazing accomplishment. And then she met my son, Chris, and that was it. She came home, you know. Lizzie Moore.
Thanks, Tim. Many of you may not know, but Chris and I actually knew each other in high school. But it took reconnecting one Easter over 11 years ago for us to start dating. And let me tell you, it's been an adventure ever since. I had known Tim and Bernie through my parents for years, but it wasn't until I really met Tim as Chris's girlfriend did I really realize what a serial entrepreneur he really was. From I think almost day one, Tim would talk about what business I should open. And often he came up with very obscure ideas, and sometimes they were actually real businesses. I think one of my favorites was when he came to me with this great idea. He said, Lizzie, I've got the business for you. I said, great, what do you think? He goes, I think you should open a business in winter mats. I said, pardon me? And he said, you know, the mats that, people come, they're at the front of businesses, and somebody comes and takes them away, and then they get a new mat. I think that's a great business for you. I said, well, I'm sure it's a wonderful business. I'm sure it's very profitable, but it didn't really get me all fired up. I said, I think I'll just wait. Maybe we can talk again about another business. So that happened. One Thanksgiving Day weekend, Tim said, Chris, Lizzie, let's go look at this property. He said, I don't really know much about it. Let's just go and check it out. So we did. Chris and I hopped in the car, and we went down. And let me tell you, we ended up at Oceanstone Inn and Cottages. And I fell in love. There was a wedding on site. The sun was shining. You didn't see everything else. You just saw how magical it was. And as I got back in the car, Chris looked at my face and said, oh, no. I said, oh, yeah. I found it. I have fallen for Oceanstone. We didn't know how we were going to make it work. I was working a full-time job in PR at the time. We had no idea how we were going to do it, but I knew this was what my passion was. and I was all fired up about it. So the next little while was history as we worked through all the details, and we closed the deal December 9th of that same year. For all of you who know Tim, he doesn't do anything slow. Literally, as we were signing the closing papers, he was on to the pavers saying that we needed to pave all the roads inside Oceanstone before the first frost. So that winter into the spring, we embarked on a massive renovation. We put down over an acre of sod in May or April, and the sod's still living, which is amazing. We built a new lobby. We built renovated all of the cottages, paver stone throughout. We had a vision of what Oceanstone wanted. We wanted Oceanstone to look like. But the only catch, as we all know, is the building season in Nova Scotia is a little bit limited. So we bought the business mid-December, and we had our first wedding late May. So we were on a little bit of a tight time frame. So I'll show you a little bit of our progress. Here we go. Yeah. So this was in April. This is our new lobby and our new office space. Then we go, yeah, that's still April. And remember, the wedding is in May. Oh, there we go. And this is the start of May. Yep. This is still May, middle of May. This is May. This is up at the restaurant. So this was the end of May, mid-May. And then, we're not. But anyway, if you can believe it, we actually were ready for that first wedding in May. And it was a team effort. Everybody was there helping and supporting in every capacity. My mom and dad, Tim and Bernie, Matthew and Chris. We could not have done it without all of them. And I vividly remember vacuuming myself out the back door as I was running around at the same time to meet the wedding couple at the front door for that first wedding. Tim and I worked very closely on the expansion of Oceanstone those first initial years. And it was a very interesting process for me, as I had never worked as an entrepreneur before, or with Tim on a project of this scope. I learned a lot through the process, and I think one of the key things that I learned that many of you in this room can relate to is separating business from personal. It was hard, especially as we started to get into multiple family businesses. Let's just say Sunday dinners have never been the same. As the years have passed, it's become easier for me to separate business from family. We still have a few topics that always brings up lots of discussion, like the flagpole, or whether we need a pool at Oceanstone. But the key is that we always have the underlying understanding that family always come first. Chris and I always joke that Oceanstone is our first baby, and in many ways I believe it. That first summer, everyone worked at the resort. Chris was our bartender, my mom was the wedding day coordinator, Bernie ensured all the units were perfect, and Tim, I know you were there, but I think you were more supervising. We've come a long way since 2012. Over the years, as we built a team, many of whom are here tonight, I truly believe that they are one of a kind. They embrace that passion and that magic that I felt that first day and continue to feel about Oceanstone. Jim and Diane are partners at Rhubarb Restaurant since 2012. Courtney and Susan, Bob and Esther, and Dean, who will be welcomed into our family as our new CEO and managing partner at Oceanstone. Tim has taught me over the years how to look at things in a different way, to embrace change and to look at positives in everything. My background, as Tim said, is in politics and PR. So some may say I overanalyze things and take too long to think about things. But over the years, Tim has taught me to embrace new opportunities and to look at things in a different way. As I reflect on the last number of years and the amount of projects and businesses we've all worked on together, I'm very proud of those moments. To work day to day so closely with your in-laws, your parents, and your husband by your side in so many of those businesses is incredible. To be given the opportunity to grow and find my passion with Oceanstone was amazing. And I want to thank Tim for all that you've shown me and all you've taught me over the years. Your passion and your knowledge are one of a kind and truly incredible. And I look forward to working on our next adventure together.
Thanks, Lizzie. Now my son, Chris. Now, Chris is a little different in some ways from his brother, a little more serious. They say, my wife likes to say that he's sort of the mature one in the family. I'm not sure, I assume that's a nice thing to say. I certainly have no intention of ever maturing part of my nature. Chris certainly has a great background in business. He and I founded Atlantic Signature Mortgage and Loan from scratch before we sold it just this last year. He's a partner, a very hands-on partner in a lot of the businesses, actually all the businesses. And it's an honor for me just to be able to work with my children, my boys and Lizzie. So, ladies and gentlemen, Christopher.
Thank you, Dad, for the introduction. Don't worry, I'll be nice. Now, what can I say about my dad and the family business? I would first start off by saying that early on, even though I didn't know it, my dad instilled in me some fundamental values in life and in business. I can remember from as early as 5 years old, I was always entrepreneurial and I was a saver. I've just found my old Fisher-Price safe in my parents' house a few weekends ago. I had to break into it, but sure enough, there was money in it. Every chance I got, I would shovel driveways on school snow days, mow lawns in the summer, and I would find golf balls at the Chester Golf Course, and then I would sell them by the entrance, to the dismay of the manager, taking the sales from the course. He wasn't too happy. In high school, I was a mover on the AMJ trucks back in the day, where 16 hours a day was not uncommon. My dad always taught me that I needed to work hard, and nothing was ever given to me. By the time I was 18, I saved $20,000 for my various entrepreneurial ventures. I bought my first condo for $88,000. I rented out to the executive suites business, premier back then, but more suites now. I sold it 5 years later, making 5 times my money invested, and I was hooked. And I realized at that point, the fundamental values my dad had been teaching me were finally paying off. Over the years, I worked in many facets of the family businesses, from being a mover in high school to being on call 24/7 in the executive suites business, to eventually working my way up to an equity partner. My dad and I have been involved in starting many businesses together, and he's taught me so many things. A critical one is respect. I learned that you need to treat everyone equal and with the same respect, from the housekeepers to the CEO, and I truly live that way. My dad and I's relationship has grown over the years. His mentorship has helped guide me and has helped with my gut for the business and my knowledge. And like my dad said, we recently sold our mortgage lending company that we started from nothing 12 years ago. And I can say it's a very rewarding experience starting something, growing it together, and selling it. I admire my dad in his many successes, as he's always looking at opportunities to invest in something or someone. And I can't tell you how many times he would call us, no matter what day or time, that he just saw the best business that we needed to open. A few of these ideas actually turned into businesses, while some we still laugh about today. We often hear him saying that he wants to slow down and he wants to consolidate, while in the same breath, he's wanting to open a new business or expand an existing one. Like, he just can't help himself. And you can't help yourself to get excited as well. His passion is contagious. I would probably take one of Richard Branson's quotes to resemble his approach, and that's, screw it, let's do it. For myself, I'm usually the more conservative one to say, why would we do that? Or let's take a closer look at the numbers before we rush in anything. However, I think it's a great partnership. Many times I've got to rein him back in to be more realistic and practical, while he pushes me to be creative and get outside my comfort zone. You have to take risks. I remember a few years ago, I mentioned to Lizzie, I was looking at a small piece of land at a tax sale. But that morning, my brother sent me a tip on a house going to foreclosure that day. So I did my quick analysis, went to the bank to get the money, and bought it within a couple hours. So I came home and I told Lizzie, I got some good news. I was excited. I was like, did you get the land? She asked? I was like, no, I didn't get the land, but I bought a house and I haven't even actually seen inside it yet. So, needless to say, I had a little explaining to do, and I think, I think Lizzie and I think Colin and Carol are still adjusting to this mentality, but I think your screw it, let's do it approach has worn off of me a little bit. Working in the family business has its challenges, but just like Lizzie said, you have to try to separate the personal from the business. We are a team, and even though we were involved in different businesses, we're there for each other, which brings me to the glue of our family, my mom. She has always been there for us, and to this day, Mom, you keep us all going, and you help us ensure that it's just business and family truly does come first. So, I'll close up by saying thank you, Dad, for all of you've done for me and our family. I wouldn't be where I am today without you and your support, and I feel so lucky and privileged to be able to work with you and to be your son. And I look forward to the next adventure, whatever that may be.
Not sure I can talk now. I love those kids. In terms of entrepreneurship, I should have mentioned, I was a little remiss that we actually made entrepreneurs of Dr. Colin Dodds and his wife Carol that have our ownership in Moore Suites and our resort. They've been so instrumental, in particular in the resort, and can't begin to thank you enough. I want to highlight 6 key points which I feel are important if one intends to succeed in business and in life. These are some of the thoughts I shared with the university students. The first one is having balance in your life. I know it's a challenge for every one of us in this room. And I can tell you many times in my life, my balance has been out of whack. It's been out of sync. I've had issues I had to deal with. And you know, you got to make that effort and get right back into sync. And I'm talking about tending to your mind, your body, and your soul. Having a stable personal life. Having a sense of spirituality, whatever that means to you. To me, a belief in a life everlasting and a God provides me a fundamental foundation, which is important in my life. But it can mean certainly the way you live your life, your values, how you treat people. Exercise, every study that's come out said we should all be exercising. And for the last 45 years, the minimum I used to say I would do would be 3 times a week, 45 minutes to an hour. And if I didn't do 3 times a week, I would do double the pain the following week. And that's been a goal of mine, and it's very rare I've ever had to do double. Diets. We all go on diets. As you get older, it gets a little harder. We're all trying to control our weights and do the right thing. And I think that's very important. It ties into the exercise. It's interesting, I heard yesterday that there's 13 cancers related to being overweight. And the next point is controlling your alcoholic intent. You know, alcohol can be a scourge. But there are 6 cancers related to drinking too much. So we all are struggling with that, and I'm not any different than anybody else. The second point is we all should find things and work at things that get us excited and enthused and happy. So if you don't have too many things, you should find some. Find something you can get passionate about. And being positive about what you do, it's a choice in our lives. And I'm the eternal optimist. I'm positive. I look on the good side of life and the good side of situations. The legendary Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, understood the importance of being passionate about life and about winning when he said, "It is far better to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by occasional failure, than to take rank with those poor spirits who neither enjoy much or suffer much, because they live in the gray twilight of life that knows neither victory nor defeat." So you've got to stay positive. Don't have any regrets at the end of your life. If you want to do something, do it. If you can afford it, do it or buy it. And a lot of things I'm fairly spontaneous. And here's a picture of we've done a lot of different things in the family. My wife and I in Barbados, which has become a second home. We truly love the Bajan culture. We love the people. It's a very safe island. Here I was on the Olympic board. I was a governor in the Olympic Trust for 10 years. I met all the athletes, went to Lillehammer, went to a lot of the games. It was exciting. And of course, I come from a family of skiers. We're all ski instructors, and I've skied all over the world, and even heli skiing here. There's my wife and I, and we heli skied in the Bugaboos out west, and there's my wife and I in the same mountains heli hiking. So just getting out and doing things, and here's all of us in Vail, Colorado, where we skied. We skied about 13 times there. Here's a group. I decided in 2003, I'm going to take off the winter, and I'm going to snow host at Sunshine, which is what I did. So that was an amazing experience. I took off 3 months. Now, I was coming back from an Air Canada. I was on the flight Air Canada, and my wife, for some reason, was not with me at that time. But I'm watching this film on the in-flight magazine, in-flight entertainment. And it talked about there was a ski excursion in Europe. And you go to 7 countries, and you ski all these different mountains, and you're away for 4 months. And I was so excited. That's definitely something I wanted to do. So I came back and told my wife, and she got really excited and said, "Oh, I think that's great." But she said, "Just don't come home." So, you don't get everything you want. Now, again, 10 years ago, I decided, I always had a dream when I was young. We all have crazy dreams. But I said, I always wanted to be a millionaire and join a motorcycle gang. So I did okay financially, but I never joined the gang. I just got a motorcycle. So I had some wonderful experiences with a lot of really good people. And of course, a lot of my friends are lawyers, and they wanted me off that bike, but because of the inherent risks. But again, my wife was so understanding to allow me to do that. Now, I'm a little bit of a car buff, and some people can react, say, "Why would he buy a Rolls Royce?" And I was downtown on Front Street in 1985, and it was on a Saturday morning. I had my cowboy boots on, I had an old shirt on, and I see that car in the window. I said, "You know what? I want that car." Now, I had no idea what it cost. I thought maybe it cost $100,000. I won't even tell you what it cost. But all I can tell you, when I went in, they didn't give me the time of day. They obviously didn't think I had any spare change at all. So, but you know what? I wanted it, and I bought it. And my mother was ill. I named the car after my mother. And the thing is, I've had so much fun. I've had a couple Rolls Royces, but the nice thing is, the best thing about it is I was able to share that car with hundreds of people. I was able to put it in auctions. We took people to Fox Harbor in the Rolls Royce because they bid on the auction. But kids love cars. And I cannot tell you how many hundreds of times, it's hard to believe, I could have written a journal, but how many times kids would come up and they would ask to take do I mind if they take pictures of the car? I said, "Look, give me the camera, you get in the car." I did that all the time. I had kids, I was along 103 highway one time, and I see this kid hanging out the window to take pictures of, that was my other Rolls Royce I had. Anyway, I'm just a car buff. It's not the best investment in the world, but so we all do stupid things. My third point is, it's all about the people. It's all about the quality and the character and the talent of the people. The attitude of the people, the work ethic of the people. And in 45 years, I've never put an ad in the paper to hire anybody. Because everybody I come in contact with is a potential employee or a partner. The nice thing about that, you have the luxury of observing somebody for a period of time. You can detect how they get along with their colleagues. You can see whether they've got a good work ethic. You can ask them questions. And then when you really believe they're going to be a good employee, you go after them. I mean, I've hired people from all walks of life. I've hired athletes, engineers, accountants, teachers, competitors. I even hired a chap who had been an optometrist for 20 years, Clint Giffen. Where's Clint here? Clint over here. He said, I've been an optician for 20 years. I said, yeah, you're in the wrong business. You've got to come in the moving business. And he did. And of course, I've hired a number of bankers. That's been good and bad. Generally good. But then once you get good people, you got to keep them. You got to appreciate them. You got to motivate them. Jack Welch, who was the CEO of the General Electric Corporation for a couple of decades, he was being interviewed once. He said, Mr. Welch, you operate a $100 billion company. What do you spend most of your time doing? He said, I spend most of my time motivating people. Well, that says everything. And then Bob Nielsen, who's written a number of books, one 1,000 Ways to Reward Employees, in a study that he did in North America, 68% of people in business do not feel appreciated. Now that's sad. And 53% have never received a thank you. Never received a thank you. It's cheap, it doesn't cost you anything. So think about thanking each other. My next point, when I gave the address to the university students, it was interesting because the kids, when I said this, they went wild. It shocked me. It shocked some people on the stage because I talked to people afterwards. But they went wild when I said, there is absolutely no replacement. There is absolutely no replacement. There is no alternative to having good manners. Where have manners gone? Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm grateful, with a smile. The fifth point is we have to embrace change, accept change, and create change. Change is going to happen whether you like it or not. And I'm just a huge advocate. I mean, I create change. I love change. I get excited when I think about change, as the kids pointed out, although I did not have a clue what they were going to say tonight, which I find interesting. I remember I was doing a Western trip, and Jackie Stewart, who I just introduced you to a few minutes ago, I got back from the West, and it sounded like a negative comment, but she said, I got back and she said, Tim, my God, every time you travel, something happens. So it really sounded like a negative comment. But I thought about it afterwards. You know what? She was right. Because every time we traveled, somebody would be hired, somebody would be fired, we got a new program, we got a new office, it's part of my DNA. And I guess it's worked. So I won't change. When I talk about change, I mean, I take a lot of pride, and we take a lot of pride that we revolutionized a stale industry in the moving business. We came out of nowhere to become the largest in the country. But change was really important. We transitioned everybody from hourly to contract, so people would make more money, but they also would have to accept more responsibility. We were the only company in Canada that insisted that all our drivers in the country, aside from their uniforms, wear ties. Now, having a tie as a driver does not make a good mover. But perception is a reality, and you're being different from everybody else. They eventually took a lot of pride in wearing ties, believe it or not. In 1984, we were part of North American Van Lines, as I said earlier. And what is interesting, there's a little bit of historic significance tonight. And it's ironic in the way that we have a chap here who operates North American Van Lines for Canada, and he and I have been friends and go back 30 years. Where's Kevin Devereux? Kevin, stand up there. There's Kevin. So he operates North American. But I'll tell you that in 1984, we represented 29% of North American Van Lines business, which was significant. And the president, Bill Elliott, at the time, and I did not see eye to eye, partly maybe because I stole Jackie Stewart. But so we had a problem. So we started talking to Atlas Van Lines, which was by far, there are 5 van lines, by far the smallest van line in Canada. We negotiated a deal where they paid $500,000 to pay for transitional costs, paint all the trucks, change all the literature. Then they gave us $1 million signing bonus in 1984. Never been done in the history of the household goods moving business. I'm even more proud to say it's never been done since. So we changed things. And then one other thing that we did, as we went across the country, we sold shares in every single center. 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 shares. Our competition had a field day. I still remember the competition saying the only way AMJ Campbell survives is by selling shares. But we created 36 millionaires in the organization. And what was interesting, I compare that to Frank Stronach from the Magna Corporation. When he had 80 factories, 30% of every factory was owned by an individual or individuals. So when I think of change, I think of we can't be so stubborn that we don't like change or don't want to make a change. And this Stormy Sea saying says it all. And it goes like this. Some of you may have heard it. It was one of those proverbial dark and stormy nights. Through a hazy gale, a ship's captain spotted what looked like the lights of another ship heading straight for him. He told his signalman to cling to the other ship. Change your course 12 degrees north. A response flashed back. Change your course 12 degrees north. The ship's captain responded, I am a captain. Change your course north. The reply flashed back. I am a seaman, first class. Change your course north. The furious captain signaled back, damn it, change your course north. I'm on a battleship. To which the reply came back, and I say change your course north. I'm in a lighthouse. One thing about, when you're successful, it's nice that you're more likely to be able to give back to the community. And I think my wife and I have been very involved in doing that. For over 40 years we've been involved, and I think we probably had, first 20 years, the last day of Chester Race Week, we had the whole community of Chester invited to see the sailboat races for 20 years. We've had numerous functions at our house in Chester. And the interesting thing, we've had a lot of fun doing it. And we've met so many great entertainers because of that. I don't know if that'll come up or not, but we've had Terry Kelly, Lenny Gallant, Jimmy Rankin, John Gracie, several others. We've had celebrities. There's Lenny there. Lenny, unfortunately, got sick tonight, as I said. There's Terry Kelly. A few, these people, Arlene Dickinson. Stephen Lewis, by the way, who had a stomach cancer and was operated on a few months ago, who is an icon in this country, one of the world's great orators, who's really a personal friend of mine. He's doing well after his operation. And there's Stephen Lewis, and Lex McDonough, and Arlene Dickinson. And of course, the Gallapalooza, we've had that a couple times at the house. And so, we've raised a significant amount of money. We're blessed, again, to have had the opportunity. We're big with mental health with Star Dobson. We've raised over $250,000 there. And we got involved with a new charity about a year ago, and my son actually went over to Sierra Leone with a fellow that operates an organization called Help to Overcome. That's where the kids in Sierra Leone have no toilets. The kids in school have no toilets. We don't know what nothing is until you go over there, because I heard all the stories from my son and from the chap that operates it. So they go over and they install toilets. And they're going back again in a couple weeks. So I just want to acknowledge Ben John, who operates the organization. Ben, can you stand up, please? We're almost finishing up here, but despite the blessings of a good life and a wonderful family and incredible friends, I normally don't do this, but I'd probably be remiss if I didn't say anything about politics. We are still living in a turbulent and disturbed world. In a time where the most powerful man in the world, Mr. Trump, has no moral compass, no moral manners, no sense of humanity, no sense of truth and integrity, no sense of right and wrong, yet he still has the support of the third of the country in the U.S. And it is my strong belief that the world has turned on Mr. Trump in particular and the United States. We are living in scary, dangerous times with a possibility of things exploding. We are left with a sense of disbelief, hoping and anticipating that we can find a sense of hope, optimism, and normalcy. We should all feel blessed to be in Canada, in particular the Maritimes and Nova Scotia. We in Canada have a responsibility to inspire, encourage, and lead, and be an example of being tough but fair, loving and kind yet cautious, and aggressive but truthful, inclusive but disciplined and controlled. Finally, the best decision of my life was in 1975. I was at a party in Montreal. I see this very attractive woman, and she was with some other guy. I caught her eye. We started talking. She said she was from Moncton, New Brunswick. She was teaching in Montreal. And I got her phone number. I didn't write it down. Despite what other people have said, I have a very good memory. I remembered it. Somebody was going to make a comment there. And I'm not sure really that night what attracted her to me. I narrowed down to three things: either my long hair, or the fact that I was a truck driver, or maybe even better, it was that orange silk shirt I was wearing. All I can tell you is that I clearly would not be standing up here tonight if it was not for this woman. She has worked directly or indirectly in every business I've been involved in. She's my best friend, my mentor, my confidant, the best mother imaginable in the world. Her and Carol Dodds, the best grandmothers in the world. It doesn't get any better. It's the inspiration of their lives. And we are still in love. We still love to do everything together. I know it's hard to believe in this day and age, but we're still passionately in love with each other. And in a week, we celebrate our 42nd anniversary. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attending, and thanks for your being here tonight, and we wish you health and happiness. Thank you.
Oh, hello, everybody. My name's David Wilson. My business title is actually son of Peter and Rose. I'm a brother, a cousin, a father, and yes, family businesses are complicated. So it's my pleasure as part of the Wilson family to facilitate some Q&A here. Tim, the Moore family, thank you for sharing your story, entertaining, insightful. Tim, knowing you and Bernadine for almost 20 years probably, it's no surprise to me that you've built your business on personal relationships, but it struck me your emphasis on culture and how important that is for business performance, for sharing success, for seeing, building your teams and finding that as a path to entrepreneurial success. And I think in family businesses, we know that. We have the pleasure of working with multi-generational employees, for our businesses, and really it is all about culture, and family businesses are uniquely positioned to do that. So, Tim, Chris, Matthew, and Lizzie, maybe I could ask you to come up onto the stage. And we've got some microphones, I believe, positioned in the room. So if you would like to ask a question, please find one of the microphones. There's one here I can see. There must be one on this side, so that the rest of the room can hear your question and the folks on stage can hear it. But now, as I have the microphone, I get to ask the first question, which is great. So Tim, you've built your business on personal relationships, culture. I was just struck hearing Chris, Matthew, and Lizzie speak, and it's incredible to me how you've been able to pass on this sense of entrepreneurship and also the way that they've built their businesses in a similar way. So how have you been able to do that? And I'd be kind of interested in their perspective on how their father has been able to pass that on to them.
I think you lead through example, really. I mean, I think that it's the way you live your life, the way you treat each other as a family, and it's the way you treat other people. And they know that, you know, I've always said, like in business, I'm not any different than the guys who drive our trucks or the girls that clean our suites. I'm here to do a job, as I tell the kids, be professional, provide the highest level of service I can for our clients. And I'm not any different. And if you ever think you're there or that you're better or you stop looking over your shoulder, then you're going to lose. So just appreciate everything. And family is number one. We're all very close. We don't always agree on everything, as Matthew said, but we really sincerely, genuinely love each other. So some of my ideas, I don't know if anyone wants to say something.
I think, too, for me coming into it as the newbie to the family, it was just learning by doing. So Tim always taught me to just do it and you figure it out. And sure, we make mistakes, but you go move on from it and you just learn from it. So I think that's one of the things you taught me was just to try and to embrace change. And things don't always work out to your exact list. That always kind of bugged me. I like to have a list and have check marks next to everything. But I realized in entrepreneurship that doesn't always work. So I'm learning how to just go with the flow and accept change and learn by doing.
You know, I would say it's just watching my dad in business and just, you know, he's been a key mentor, like I said earlier, and I wasn't given a top position at any. I had to work from the bottom and earn the respect of the people of the organization, and I think that was it. I wasn't given anything. I had to earn the respect and earn the success in my own right, and I think. And I appreciate that for myself.
I think just having a culture focused on customer service, providing the highest quality, service and products in the industry, and continuously looking to improve that based on customer feedback is extremely important.
So Matthew, did that comment come from the 50% you learned at business school or the 50% you learned in experience? You don't have to answer. All right, so we have some questions from the audience. I see, Bob, you there? Yeah?
Yeah. Tim, I wonder if you and then the rest of the family can tell us a little bit about how you go about, you talk about separating family from business, but practically, how do you make that happen? How is it that you're such a loving family, or at least appear to be such a loving family, and yet you're in a whole handful of businesses together, and some of them must have some real problems at times?
I'm not sure if I'm on or not, but we have a pillow at home that says, remember, as far as everyone is concerned, we're a perfectly normal family. It's interesting you say it because, when we're together, and a lot of the time that's at home, And of course, my wife and my son Chris says, no, we can't talk business now. We're all having dinner or we're going to eat or no business here. So we actually try and set up meetings where we'll discuss business rather than try and do it when we have family outings. There's a time to do the business and discuss business, and there's a time to sort of enjoy each other just as a family. So, and I think we've got pretty good balance in doing that. And, but there's never really been, I don't think there's ever been any issues in terms of really strong disagreements. I mean, no, Chris is right, yeah, there are, yeah. Well, we don't always agree. Sometimes, I still remember the time at Atlantic Signature, I brought this property in Halifax. I said, yeah, you fellas should be able to finance this, and I gave it to actually Dave Dexter, who worked with Chris. I said, would you finance this? I do it. But Chris, they analyzed it, they came back to me and they said, Dad, we're not going to do it. I said, what's your title in this organization? How many shares do you have in this organization? But I kiddingly, you've got to empower your kids to run the business. And they didn't do the financing, even though I would have done it. So we're very open about things like that. Lizzie, you want to say anything?
I would say, you know, we learn to adapt to the separation, and I think we have good debates, but we learn to separate it. At the end of the day, you know, we may agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we're still family, and you know, maybe we sleep on it, we love each other the next day, right? It's all good. So I think we've learned to adapt, and you know, we do have those conversations, but it's you know, we still love working together. So at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah, I think it just good sense of humor helps as a coping strategy. And long vacations. And, but yeah.
Thanks very much. I think that was really good advice. Thanks.
Okay, are there any more questions? Anybody? Time for one more? No? That's good. Great. Well, I would like to thank the Moores on behalf of all of us. I mean, this dinner is about the celebration of family business. Every year we get to hear the story about a great Atlantic Canadian family business. And Tim, Chris, Lizzie, Matthew, and Bernadine, thank you very much for sharing that with us. It's really special. We learn from our experiences. We all make mistakes in these businesses, but it's amazing to learn and move on and continue to grow. So Family Business Atlantic will make a donation to the Mental Health Foundation of Nova Scotia on your behalf, at a cause near and dear to your heart.
Thanks, Dave.
And I don't know, they wrote this in before, I swear, but the association must have heard something in what you said tonight, because they think you need some help, because they're extending a complimentary one-year membership to the Family Business Association, to the Moore family. Anyway, thank you everybody for attending. It means a lot to the association. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Just a few more pieces of business. We echo David's words of thanks to Tim, to Lizzie, to Matthew, and to Chris. Really enjoyed your presentation. Thank you very much. All right. All right. Many thanks again to our presenting sponsor, TD Bank Group, and to our reception sponsor, Grant Thornton. All right. We're going to multitask here while they take pictures. We'll finish with the thanks. So also thanks to our supporting sponsors, Boyne Clark, Cresco, Eastlink, Seaboard Transport, Wilson Fuel, and Advanced Systems. Also to our media sponsor, All Nova Scotia, and many participating sponsors who continue to show their support for this event every year. Thank you to Bruce Des Moines and the AV team of Advanced Sound, and the wonderful staff of RCR for ensuring a seamless dinner again this evening. Again, thanks to our entire committee, to my Peter Wilson Dinner Committee, who I thoroughly enjoyed working with, and our many event volunteers. One more time, I will mention Michelle Levine, our Executive Director, and Sarah Wilson, yes, for Michelle and Sarah, our Communications and Membership Coordinator. If you would like more information about Family Business Atlantic, you can track me down. You can also find Michelle or Ron Cluett, who is our membership coordinator, or Sarah. Any of us would be happy to talk to you about the benefits of joining our organization. Finally, I encourage you to stay connected with us so you can check into our website and learn more about us and our upcoming events. Auction items will be displayed on these two screens here behind me shortly. We encourage everyone to stay around and enjoy some more networking, the stuff that I interrupted earlier this evening, and conversations with your friends. For now, the final piece of business, I'll ask Ali Masudi again to come from the TD, and we're going to draw the winner of our door prize.
Ali Masudi.
All right.
My wife had a fight with a curb yesterday and is missing a tire, so this would have been good for me, but anyhow. The winner is Gary Robinson.
All right, Gary Robinson. Congratulations. Several winners this evening. So thank you, Ali. And the door prize and auction items can be picked up outside in the lobby. Thank you for joining us this evening. This was just a wonderful event. You all look wonderful down there. And I hope you have a safe trip home. Good night.